New reporting suggests that President Trump is expected to continue his attacks on these four women tonight at a rally in Greenville, North Carolina. We're going to be talking about that a little later in the show, but I want to talk a little bit more about the president and his comments. The House is going to vote later today on a resolution to impeach President Trump. That's a measure that's being pushed by Democratic Representative Al Green, who says that the president's recent comments demonstrate that he's unfit to be president. It all started when the president tweeted on Sunday telling four congresswomen of color to go back to the countries they came from. Three of the four were born in the United States. All four are U.S. citizens. On Monday, his attacks continued.
These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country. If you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. They're very unhappy. I'm watching them. All they do is complain. So all I'm saying is, if they want to leave, they can leave.
All right, President Trump is praising the Democrat-led House vote condemning those tweets, but it was backed by only four Republican members: Will Hurd of Texas, Fred Upton of Michigan, Susan Brooks of Indiana, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, and the Republican-turned-independent Justin Amash of Michigan. But so far, 36 of 250 Republican lawmakers say they condemn the comments. That's 14% of the House and the Senate. Even Trump ally and former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci called out Trump's tweets as racist and unacceptable, saying America is a nation of immigrants founded on the ideals of free thought and free speech. Anthony Scaramucci joins me now. My friend, we have to dip into to Nancy Pelosi when she talks about this.
Yeah, no problem.
You and I have known each other for a long time, and there's a sort of a story that people who come of immigrant families, it's sort of like a handshake or a wink and a nod, that they know of the stories, right? Everybody who's got an immigrant-sounding last name or their color is different has heard some version of go back to where you came from. Have you heard that in your life?
I personally haven't heard that, but my grandparents heard it. You know, my grandmother couldn't get a job, very educated in Italy, got here. The signs in the shopkeeper's signs were Nina, no Italian need apply. That also stood for Irish, no Irish need apply. And so we've had discrimination in our society. We've had segregation. We've had all these issues, but the society is advancing and progressing, and it is a wonderful place to be. I mean, it's a grand experiment. You and I are living the American dream as a result of the sacrifices of people that came from another country. So, listen, I don't want to beat on it all day. I made my comments. The comments are unacceptable from the president. They are racist. I don't view him as a racist. I support the president, but I don't think that we're advancing the society's agenda going in that direction. The women that he's attacking, he's giving them great standing, not just here in cable and the Beltway.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think 3 days ago, most Americans couldn't name all of them except Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
They were fighting with Speaker Pelosi, and so they were calling her racist, and they were fighting with each other, and so, you know, the president could have let that go, and that would have disintegrated right there. He can call them racist or anti-Semitic based on some of the comments that they're saying. But saying go back to your own country, that's like a really bad thing, because it is a whistle for everybody in an ethnic community. It says, wait, whoa, first it's me, then it's your family, Ali, then it's the next family, and that's the domino effect of division in the country. And it's not American. We don't think like that. We don't stand for that. But I don't want to beat on a dead horse. I mean, you know, I'm surprised that more Republicans are not being honest with the president.
So that's an interesting point. Being honest with the president is the important part.
Exhaust the system. You know, Joe McCarthy exhausted the system. So what ends up happening is
it sucks up all the air.
You get everybody riled up. Then they get exhausted, and like a hula hoop or a frisbee, they drop it. And the minute they drop it, you lose your standing. And so you got so many good things to run on: the economy, growth, free enterprise system, deregulation.
You have always, one of the reasons you were at the White House is you have enjoyed a good relationship with the president. After you left the White House, you said the same thing, that you enjoy a good relationship with the president.
Well, I mean, I haven't talked to him recently, but I like the president a great deal. I like him enough to tell him the truth. You know, I mean,
so what's the message to him right now? What does he do?
I think you want to. I get the point. You want to label the Democratic Party as that squad, and if you do that successfully, and they pull those candidates over to their positions, you'll likely win a 40-state landslide. But drop the racist rhetoric, because what that's going to do is it's going to upset 15% of the people in the middle that are moderates that would probably like to vote for you. They're going to say, wait a minute, that's not flavorful for me. I'll go with somebody's policies that I don't like because they're not going to do that from a style. Remember, it's a what and how thing with the president. Focus on what you're doing, which are, in my opinion, very good for the country. How you're doing it, you could do that better.
So to the extent that it is part of your narrative, the idea that you have come from a family that has come from away, which is a part of a lot of people's American narrative, this isn't enough to cost Donald Trump your support.
Not at this point. If you keep going in that direction, it won't just be.
But what does that look like? Is there anything, Donald? Because he's got a lot of stuff. Let's put it up on the screen, because you can see the stuff that he said that would have.
I know it. I see,
right? You've seen it, right?
I see the whole thing.
It's birtherism. It's calling Mexicans rapists. It's shithole countries. It's all that kind of stuff.
I got it, but it's a duality of the president. On the flip side, he's passed prison reform. On the flip side, he's come up with great policies that have lowered the unemployment rates in some of the areas of the country like that. I see it. There's a mixed bag of things, and people can pick and choose from the bag and say the president's racist or not racist. But knowing him personally, seeing what he did during the Martin Luther King Jr. controversy 25 years ago, where the New York Stock Exchange was left open, and President Trump worked with Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, Rosa Parks, to get it closed to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on his national holiday. Those are the types of things I like to think of the president about. When you ask me straight up, jugular test of authenticity, is he a racist? He is not a racist. But if you're going to continue to say...
But look at all these things. How can you not be a racist and do all these things that he's accused of doing?
Okay.
I mean,
okay, we can go through them. Go back.
Okay,
I don't like that. I think that's racist. The birther thing, I don't fully understand. I understand the African American community views that as racist.
Let me tell you about the birth thing. So he said that President Obama,
the Mexicans,
he said President Obama,
a flippant comment that he made during his introduction. Go ahead. I can go through the list with you. I'm not here to defend the list.
Right, but how do you come to the conclusion that he's not racist when you see that list? I mean, there may be things on that list you don't like.
The average American will say things that they regret. The average American will say things that they wish they could take back. Trust me, I got fired for saying something that I wish I could take back. So obviously that happens. And so he's 73 years old. You've got 7 things listed there. He's probably got another 40 or 50 that he said that are sounding and looking ridiculous.
So at some point when it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you're not prepared to call it a duck?
I am. No, I am. If he continues on the path of telling people to leave the country and divides the country and stuff like that, then you have to make a decision. You can't choose the person over the country. You can't choose the policies over the country. At the end of the day, I like the president. I want to be a loyal supporter to him, but I love the country. Okay, and so you can't tell people to go back to the other country. And by the way, my grandparents, who have both been dead now for probably 20, 30 years, they would cry at something like that. Okay, and there's my uncle. He was stormed Normandy Beach.
So what would they say that
he died on Memorial Day?
You are still not prepared to say Donald Trump has lost my support?
I think what they would say, those people and my cousins who are blue-collar workers or clammers out on Long Island or installing auto glass, they like and support the president. But if you're going to tell people to go back to the other country, they're going to say, okay, at some point we can't continue to support you. So tell us what you guys want to do. Now, the elected Republicans, if they all came out, there were 250 of them on that list or whatever it was, said, hey, terrible, can't talk like that, I think the president would conform his behavior. He needs straight up, honest feedback and an honest analytical assessment of what's going on. But so what's happening now in Washington is, look, I got to stay in power. I don't want to get primaried. I don't want to say anything that's going to upset the president. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut, even though I know I'm right. And you're a good journalist. You know there are White House aides that think what the president said is racist and unacceptable, but they're never going to say anything. They'll whisper to you on the phone, Ali, it's off the record.
So you gave an interview to CNN.
I think that's not serving the president well, actually.
You're one of my most well-read friends, and you read, when you were talking on CNN, you quoted from JFK's book, Profiles in Courage. And I wanted to just take another quote out of that book, because you hold him in high esteem. In whatever arena of life one may meet the challenge of courage, whatever may be the sacrifice he faces if he follows his conscience, the loss of his friends, his fortune, his contentment, even the esteem of his fellow man, each man must decide for himself the course he will follow. The stories of past courage can define that ingredient. They can teach, they can offer hope, they can provide inspiration, but they cannot supply courage itself. For this, each man must look into his own soul.
Okay, so we've obviously read that book. I've read that book many times,
yeah.
And I think the point that John F. Kennedy was making in that book, and he made another point which I'd like to make, is number one, You sometimes have to step out of the system, step out of the politics, reflect what's going on in the society, and stand up for the society. And so that's what we have to do as a group of people. I don't like the Squad. I don't like their ideology.
But that's not relevant, right? I mean, you don't have to.
They are democratically elected officials. They are citizens of the country. One was naturalized. Right. Others were born here. They have the right to say.
You and I have argued we don't have the same views on things, but neither of us has ever told anybody to go back.
There should be some level of civility. The last thing, very important, what John F. Kennedy also said is that he studied the other side because he really wanted to understand. He said there are super smart people on the other side. Let me understand what they're thinking and saying. And he was a guy that could hold two diametrically opposed ideas in his brain and synthesize those, Ali. And we need more statesmen like that in Washington that can say, okay, I got the president's point, I got the Squad's point. Don't do that. It's classically un-American, and we're progressing the society now to a point where we should be post-partisan, post-identity on issues like that.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.